Hello, hi, good evening, everyone. Namaste.
Mhm.
As we all know that people are familiar with both the concept of people are familiar as well as unfamiliar with the concept of the Chaucer yoginis, the Das Mahavidyas, and the goddess tradition.
Mhm.
Basically, with the collar tradition, if I must say. So, in this podcast, Arun, as we were discussing earlier, we are going to, decode the concept of the goddess tradition, the yogini cult, and the Das Mahavidya concept as well. So, before we get into the details, could you please give us an insight into your spiritual journey? Uh,
Yeah, the thing is like, how did I came into the
yeah,
Mahavidya, uh, I mean Mahavidya sadhana or this particular tradition is it's basically my grandparents and grandparents are responsible for that. Why? Because if we look into Kerala, there is a separate sect which is called the Ganaka. So what they do is like, they are a kind of traditional astrologers, like fortune tellers, and also the people those who works with the medicines and things like that. Basically Ayurveda and Sanskrit also. But the here what happens is that this particular sect is not very much kind of Brahminical thing. Like there is no. I mean, if we look into the India in a greater way, we could see there was untouchability is being practiced greatly in mostly
correct.
in Kerala. Like Swami Vivekananda was saying that the Kerala is something
Okay,
a sort of a house of mad peoples are like because
okay,
they are all very much into untouchability. So if we look into this particular tradition, like especially this particular sect is not been preaching the untouchability stuff, and rather than that they were the people in India, I mean in the South India, uh, um, teaching the Sanskrit to the lower caste people. I mean the too much of lower
okay.
class, like educational people. They were teaching the educations and things like that. Whatever they were not able to understand related to the holy
Mhm.
text, so-called Vedas. These things they were teaching. So this
Okay,
was my sect basically. So
okay.
the when we look into this in my house, like my grandparents was having one temple, basically it has been given to the Dakshina Kali. I mean,
Oh,
in
okay.
local language, it is been known as Vadakan Chova. I mean, in the Malayalam language, but it is basically the Dakshina Kali, which has been there. And if we look into my grandmother, like when I'm very young, people used to come to her, like for healing, and they used to get dreams in night and how to
Mhm.
heal from that and things like that. So she gives a certain kind of mantras and
Mm.
certain ashes and things like that, and salt also. So with the usage of these peoples were used to get cured from this. When I was very young age, I looked into this with a greater curiosity. How does all these things are working? And when I grew
Mm.
up, like because I got a radical mind and mostly a logical mind, I started to
Mm.
think that whether this is because of mostly because mm, a kind of psychological treatment, maybe because
Mm.
people will feel psychologically uplifted over here and things like that when they come and contact with the kind of healers. And generally people will feel they a little bit uplifted, and they are feel a little bit better. I thought it might be a psychological adoption, like so when I
Mm.
started to study in this particular light, I
Mm.
started to study the books in the psychology, like Carl Jung, and there are a lot of
Mm.
Western people also if we look into the psychology, Eastern peoples were not generally not that much interested into psychology, because
Mm.
most of the things they are mostly interested into philosophy, like
Mm.
Advaita Vedanta and things like that.
Correct. Correct.
So this is what the Eastern people were interested in. But when we want to study about the mind, we have to go to the West. Those are the people who mostly studied about the psychology and culture Jungs and stuff like that. When later part, I have realized the one sad truth that the mind is something which is not existing. So what?
Mm.
So then the healing is not actually psychological, because mind, they wrote an entire thing about the stuff which is actually really not existing. So there is something which is actually causing the mind to be manifested, because mind also the collection of the intellect which we get on the journey. So
Mm.
there is something which will actually cause the mind also to be manifest. So what
Mm.
was that? And I got interested into these studies. Then when I was going to schools and colleges, the studies got more intensified, and I studied Western esotericism. Like there is
Mm.
alchemist and people, like mostly, the book which is talking about the alchemist is Paulo Coelho's Alchemist. So we can get an overview of how the Western esotericism is been working. And
Correct.
so
Mm.
there people believe there is philosopher's stone, and even the latest podcast which you can go through my channel and find, like, we have
Okay.
discussed greatly about the beliefs, and I mean the conspiracies, believing in the Western people, basically about the UFOs and the reptiles, and there is a space
Mm.
shifting reptiles and the shape shifting
Mm.
reptiles that could be from the another dimensions and things like that. These kind of sort of things, like, the
Mm.
reality, how does the reality looks like? And so
Mm.
I went to somewhere called Narayana Gurukula. Here I found somebody called Nataraja Guru and his disciples. I mean, when I went to the Gurukula, Nataraja Guru was not there. He was already got samadhi, and his disciples was there, and some of his books where he tried to unite the wisdom of East with the West, and so he formed a concept called East West University of Brahma Vidya. Basically what it does is, like, here his entire idea, whether he was able to find out some sort of relation between the East and West. So in that sort, like, I studied his teachings and his books, and I spoken to his disciples, those who were too close to him while he was alive. And he actually comes from a lineage called Narayana Guru, and this has been in Shivagiri, and these peoples went to Marpapa and for the inter-religious conference there. And I think Marpapa is going to come in next month to Kerala from the for whatever they have did based on that. And so after studying all these concepts, like, about the Nataraja Guru and things like that, I understood there is something called the samadhi is existing. Like there is the states of mind, like, Jagrat, Sopnam, Sushupti, and Samadhi, and there is a place where we can go and get Samadhi experience, which is beyond death, birth, and rebirth, which people's, I mean, the ancient books talks as, like, the scriptures talks as the state of nirvana. And on this light, I looked into the Vedic astrology and what does it means. Like, when I was very from very young age also, I have a ability to predict, basically. what is
Okay.
going to happen and how it's been happening, all these things is possible, how so
Mm.
most of my predictions comes true in later stage. And also there are a lot of incidences been happened in my journey of prediction, because when I was consulting two sisters, they were from the Poland basically, and I was
Mm.
drawing the card for them. And
Mm.
they are twins, identical twins basically. So the
Okay.
cards which are coming out identically similar, like the things, the cards are coming for each person is very
Mm.
much similar. So these
It's
things,
great.
these are quite interesting stuffs which has been happened. Then I was in a traveling, like I went to Nepal, where the White Tara, Yogini White Tara, she
Yeah.
was residing in one ashram. I went
Mm.
there and studied her philosophy, her experiences. And the interesting thing which has been happened when I was in the ashram, there was one of my friend, she is from Italy, and she took the
Mm.
picture of the yogini. And
Mm.
the in camera we can
Mm.
see that there is a subtle body behind her photo, like it's
Mm.
there is a kind of rays been
Aura.
aura. And
Huh.
she is also from she is from a scientific community. And she took
Okay.
this and she was showing me and what was the explanation, and we were scratched our head, we were not able to figure out why it has been
Right.
happened. uh,
Huh.
then after that I went to Rumtek monastery, which is into Sikkim. And
Mm.
here I came across a lot of teachings in the Buddhism. Basically, this
Mm.
particular place where the Tibetan tantrik things is been practiced, and there you can see the tara, green tara, red tara, white tara, this kind of
21 taras.
21 taras in the Buddhist concept. And there is a temple which has been dedicated to Bhairava. And the herbs also has been offered to Bhairava, like the alcohol has been offered to Bhairava. And
Okay.
I found out there is in the it's not just alcohol is been offering to Bhairava. There is also alterations is been happened that can induce the sort of immortality in human beings, like that is called
Wow.
soma, the drinks which has been
Yeah,
speaking
yeah, yeah. Right, right.
text a lot, like with the devas and things like that. So this was a quite interesting experience. I have spent almost 1 month in this particular monastery, and I had interviewed one monk and put that particular podcast in my YouTube channel.
Channel.
Where, yeah, there we are talking about the the tantric Buddhism, and the why the importance of the guru is very much important if we are walking in this particular path and things like that. Then after that, in the certain part of Orissa, there black magic is been practiced. Like it's also related to the tantric wisdom. Like there is a museum of black magic is been existing in a place called Mayong. So there we can see the lot of black magic stuffs. And no, what they say it's as a black magic, it's
Mm.
basically an occult which can actually transcend the reality which we are actually experiencing. It can induce the state of a radical change in the reality. I mean, we call it as Maya. So the Maya can be easily bendable, and it can be induce some sort of it can we can actually flex the reality. So there are some medicines
Okay.
and the mantras is been used. And the interesting thing
Okay.
is that all this is been associated with the Mahavidyas in one form or another form, whether it will be Tara or it will be Kali, it can be Shodasi, it can be
Dhamavati.
Yeah. So the all these things. And when I went to the Kamakya temple, there we can see the 10 tantric goddesses temple. After all this, I went to the Kamakya temple, so where I could actually relate all these stuffs, why it has been happening here. Like even
Mm,
there, the interesting thing we can see is that the animals, that is, I mean,
mm,
every day the animal sacrifice will happen in the Kamakya
mm.
temple, in all the temple, all
Right.
the Mahavidya's temple.
Correct.
There is every day happens, the animals are not at all scared. It is like, I am going to die first, I am going to die first, like that. They are in
My
the,
God.
so
So
this,
they are very much eager to, sacrifice their lives. It's
themselves,
something
like,
like that.
yeah, they are
Oh
very
my
much
God.
eager to
Why? I mean, how is that possible? Why do you think that is possible? I mean, is that it happens in
I
that way?
have
What is the change in the psychology or something?
I feel like, when you sacrifice yourself towards the gods, is like, the thing what is happening here is like, you will get direct connect to the Brahman or the Absolute, like, so you will come out from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, and get united with the Absolute. So the animals
They
is
feel it.
they feel it, like, in that place they feel it, and they feel like, giving sacrifice there, I feel.
Oh,
So
so
this might,
basically they vie for that salvation thing, and is
yeah,
ultimately thing is as a moksha.
moksha.
So
So
they also feel it internally.
they also
Okay.
feel it internally. That's why I feel like, they are, like to get sacrificed over there. So it's all comes into Mahavidya sadhana. So that is where I realized, this has a particular effect on the, subtle reality. I mean, the here, what we are
Mhm.
living, and it can also can give an effect on, hereafter as well. Like, you can
Okay.
get everything over here, and from hereafter also you can get everything. I mean, we really don't know what happens after the death. Like, nobody came out
Mm.
from the death and told, like, this is how it's
Mm.
been. But
Correct. True.
yeah, some clue we can get. So
Yeah.
this is where I got into, this is my entire spiritual journey, which is about the Mahavidyas, where I come into Mahavidyas, and I studied the astrology. And the interesting fact is that in
Mhm.
Kerala, these peoples were practicing astrology maybe, like, thousands of years ago itself. Like, if we study
Mhm.
this history, it has been practicing there from thousands of years, and it can be, mostly it should be from the, the Tamilian history, because
Mhm.
the rishi which we can find in our other people's houses, like, it's Kartik, the people's believe is the son of the Shiva and things like that. He is
The
actually
Murugan.
Murugan, yes, exactly.
Murugan.
Yeah,
Huh.
Karthik. He is basically a
Yeah.
rishi. He found the astrology, and he has a lot of knowledge about the I mean, the transcendental,
Aspects.
sciences, basically. So this is all about my journey. Yes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, and we will go on to the next question. Is like, if you could, since we are talking about the Chaucer yoginis and many das Mahavidya, so could you please, highlight the concept of, the how it is going to, lead people, or rather bring in people in, or rather, how should I say? I mean, uh, say somebody wants to study this
Mhm.
path, or rather get into the scholar tradition. So, how would they get in, and why should they get in? So, what is the aspect? What are the aspects that would actually bring them into this field of studies?
So why somebody should get into is that the this is I have been spoken in my first book, like, if you really need to live, you
Hmm.
really need to extend your senses. Why I am talking this, like, the basically our reality is been the conceptualized, or the intellect which we have got from our sensual perceptions, like, what we
Mhm.
see, that is what create the intellect on us. Like,
Hmm.
imagine that if we can see what we were not able to see, so it
Hmm.
will create a bit more reality. For example, if we look into the sky, if we
Hmm.
see a group of galaxies that is 1 lakh light years away, what does
Hmm.
it mean? That whatever we are seeing right now is been happened 1 lakh years ago. So that
Hmm.
means it is not real, because what we see is the light which has been happened in the 1 lakh years ago. So imagine that you will be having the ability to extend your senses, for example your eyesight or some other senses. So the feeling towards the life will be much more intense, and when you get into this sort of experience, you can actually bend reality the way which you feel safe. I like
Okay.
there is a
An
concept,
example?
there is concepts called vashyam. Vashyam is like, attracting the opposite sex to your whatever the way you want, like, so here
Hmm.
you can, if you go for the vashyam, you can actually attract the opposite people towards your life, whether it is in business, whether it is in the relationship, or whether it is in family and stuffs like that. You can change these people's mind which is not that much conscious actually. And the
So you're
maranam.
talking about Vashikaran basically,
Yeah,
right?
Vashikaranam, Vashyam. So there is something called the Maranam. Maranam is like,
Maran, huh.
you can destroy the people, those who are not
Right.
so much good with you. And Uchadanam, even you can kill people without their knowledge. That is called
Hmm.
Uchadanam. And the Stambanam, like you
Hmm.
can destroy the enemy.
Bagalamukhi.
Yeah, destroy the enemies talking to you. So these things are possible with the Mahavidyas.
Concept
Why
of
Mahavidya?
Mahavidyas. And why Chaucer Yogini? Why should somebody get into the concept of the Chaucer Yogini? I mean, other than having interest in the getting interest in gaining knowledge, why should one get into the studies of the Chaucer Yogini? What are the the aspects that would actually touch transform their lives, and how would they get benefited, and how would that transform their life's journey? What would you like to say about that?
See, the thing is like, if we are sleeping, we will never understand what is the advantages of being awoken.
Hmm.
If you look into Mahavidyas, because these are the tools that can really transform you from the inside out, and it can extend your senses, it can give you greater well-being. So what happens over here, like, you are really truly awakening. So if you're really truly awakening, you can see the life in a really different perspective altogether, and you can experience more on life. The life is especially more, like, why do you need to settle for less, like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a choice whether you need to be experienced more or you need to settle for less. It's particularly you have to choose. And it is better to be awoken rather than that of sleeping, because if you are awoken, you can actually experience more than that of whatever you are sleeping. That
So
is
you're
why
talking about the mindfulness basically.
this is not just mindfulness. There is a lot of
Mhm.
aspects will improve. The things will happen according to your way. Like, the business will improve, the ability to earn money will improve, the family life will improve, and the even the sexuality will improve. I mean, your partner will be good with you, and things like that. So there is like, it's more like, you can get into a better shape. The shape of you also will change, like, the I mean, the body also has
Transformed human beings. That's in terms of
yeah.
the personality, in terms of as a person. I mean, that way that you're talking about the personal growth, right?
Yeah, but not just, it's a transformation, like, your shape of you. I mean, how do
Thought
people
process.
how do people identify you, like, people will talk the internal thing. I mean, the mind is more important than that of the appearance. Mind has to be really beautiful, but in the reality nobody even have an x-ray eye. They are not going to
Hmm.
look how good you are thinking, they only going to look how you are appearing. This
Hmm.
is the reality. If you want something in the real world, this philosophy is stupid. You have to be really pretty and beautiful, you have to be in shape, so this will
Hmm.
actually attract lot of steps to your life. And it's better to have a good life rather than that of having a lesser life, right? Like, I mean, so
Correct.
this kind of thinking.
Now, we- correct, correct.
Mm.
Anything else that you want to add to it?
Nothing. What was that? What
Okay.
you're saying?
So, no, I was going to ask you that since we are talking about the Chaucer yoginis and the Das Mahavidyas,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and uh, if you could explain the concept a bit more. We are talking about the benefits, we are talking about the transformations, yeah. But like people who are not aware of the concept at all, so what do you actually mean by the concept of Das Mahavidya, the Kala tradition, and the Chaucer Yogini cult? So if you could
Like
give it in a very short ways, which people can, and a layman can understand, something like that.
if
So
if
why 64 yoginis and why Das Mahavidyas and who are they actually this
like if we look into
in a very
the
brief way, if you could
yeah,
say
yeah,
it
yeah.
for people who are not aware of it.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, if we look into the Mahavidya, so there are 10 of them is there. Like, it
Uh-huh.
starts from Kali. So Kali is basically your
Yeah.
shadow self. Like, what is there in your shadow, that which you were not so aware of and you were not exactly looked into. And it has to be very careful, because once you are entering into your shadow, we will never know what would be the outcome. So the Kali, Tara
Hmm.
is there, and Shodasi is there. Chinnamasta is basically
Hmm.
self-sacrifice and things like that. So when each aspect is goes with the mind, not exactly mind the self. So these things has to be purified in order to get into self. Once these things are purifying, you can actually go there deeply into the self. So this is one this is exact way. But when we look into the Kali, because Kali will manifest in the physical reality, that is also is there. So based on that, you can ask
Hmm.
things to the Kali, Tara, Chodasi. This because the why I am saying this, because the world is an illusion, Maya. So these things can
Hmm.
happen from another dimension, and you can manifest them into the physical reality. So these are the 10 aspects of life. And when we look into the 64 yogini, these are the 64 sub aspects of the life. And it is like, 64, it is connected to the 64 art forms and stuffs like that. And if we look really deep,
Right. Hmm.
deep into the concept of the Chaushrat Yogini temple, there is a place where the tantric process or the spiritual process has been done. In that,
Hmm.
there are people, apart from other temple, like we are praying towards the deity. Here, if you sit in the middle of this particular pida, all the yoginis are looking at on you. So it's other way around.
Hmm.
So this will actually get you really deep into the self. And from there you will be I mean, when you actually understand the Brahma, like this is the nature of life, this is how the creation is happened, this is how the creation is
Hmm.
going to happen. So what happens is that you
Hmm.
can absolutely you can alter the reality from that particular place. That is really powerful.
Okay. So, and regarding the initiation into the tradition, so could you please give some, ideas regarding the initiation to the process or into the
So
tradition, how one gets initiated, how do you do it, and all that?
basically, the initiation happens in the Shakti path.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, the master who, or the he who realized, will generally transfer the spiritual energy by looking into the person. This is one of the way which can be energy can be transferred, or giving some sort of elements. It can be a yantra or mantra, or a mala.
Hmm.
So with this, the peoples can actually transfer this energy to the aspirant, and from here onwards, he or she will be in the path of the Shakti, and this is up to the third level. It's the master's job is to bring you to the Jagrat, and there is there is a fourth thing is like turiyam is there, which is like, not the jagrat or sopnam or sushupti. It's a jagrat means it's basically conscious. Okay, then there is turiyam.
Awareness.
Turiyam is not in these three, it is on the fourth. And turiyatītam, it's more than that of the turiyam, the next state of the
Mm.
turiyatītam, because turiyam you can imagine, because you can understand what is Swapnam, Sushupti, and the Jagrat state. And but the Thorium, Thorium you can also, Thorium also you can imagine, because it is not, it doesn't falls into these three categories, is actually called as Thorium.
Could you please elaborate on the three terminologies that you said? Just a one-liner for
Like
people who are not familiar with those terminologies.
like
One line each.
Yeah, the Jagrat is the state where we are
Awareness.
awake, and we are
Right.
walking and things like that. And the ability,
Mhm.
the level of the Jagrat will be different for different people. And the
Right.
Sopnam is the
Hmm.
state where we see dreams while we are
Okay.
sleeping.
Hmm.
Sushupti is the state where there is not even dreams are existing while we sleep.
Hmm.
So these are the three
Okay.
states, and the fourth
Hmm.
one is Turiyam. Turiyam doesn't
Hmm.
falls into any of these three category. This is Turiyam
Hmm.
and Turiya Atitam. Turiya Atitam,
Hmm.
Turiyam we can imagine because it doesn't falls into these three category is
Any of
the
the states.
Turiyam.
Huh.
Turiyam.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
somehow we will get an idea. If you are not experienced, if somebody
Huh.
experienced, he will not be able to talk how it is. If somebody doesn't
Hmm.
experience, he don't have it, he can actually get an idea by seeing these other three
Hmm.
states. And the fifth
Okay.
state is Turya Atitam, because you cannot even imagine that. How does it, like,
Oh,
because there is no
gotcha.
idea. Even the Thorium you
Hmm.
cannot imagine.
It can be
And
anything.
yeah, it can be anything. So
Hmm.
in the Shakti path, the master or the teacher will give an initiation by looking into the eyes, or the touching the third eye, or giving some
Hmm.
um, elements which can be, the yantras or malas or things like that. And from there is a process happens. And after that, the
Hmm.
entire purpose of this is to get you into the state of awareness. And after
Hmm.
that, there is something happens which transcend the awareness that can be only given by the yoginis or the mahavidyas or the absolute
Okay.
alone, like, we cannot do anything about that. So to get into that state, there is a certain kind of initiation process which is exist, that's with the,
Hmm.
lights and lamps and threads
Hmm.
and things like that. Once
Hmm.
somebody is good with the basic initiation, they can go into
Hmm.
that. And uh, this is been watched whether he or she is able to continue this based on the things which happens over there. So when I was in Tiruvannamalai, I was giving one initiation to one lady. She is from North America, in the
Hmm.
Tiruvannamalai, and we were put the lights and things like that. And all of a sudden, there is for no reason wind start to happen. The lights are going away. So
Oh, wow.
we again littered the lamp, and again the wind. It was very normal. Tiruvannamalai is a kind
Hmm.
of, very normal city, and so it was very normal till then. Then suddenly wind start to happen. We tried it three times. Three times also
Hmm.
the wind has happened, and we were not able to do that. Then the from there we have given her a process to chant the yogini and ask her to take into this particular path. And after that we have to see what has to be done now.
Okay. So now I mean, how would you do it for people if, say, somebody is staying at another different geographical location? So, say, for example, you're staying in Kerala. and
Hmm.
someone from any other part of the globe wants to connect with you and take their initiation from you. So how would you go about with that? And
Basic.
somebody who is a layman who is not even introduced into the Chaucer Yogini cult or the Das Mahavidya. I'm not talking about those who have already got some knowledge. No. What
Mhm.
about people who have no knowledge about or rather no exposure to the concept? How would you go about with their initiation?
The thing is, like, if they really want, they will come into this path somehow. This is how
Hmm.
it works, like, like
Okay,
if you are an artist, you will get a circle of artist people. There's those who
correct.
works
You
into the,
attract.
yeah, you
Hmm.
attract. So this is how it generally works. Like, people, those who really interested into this, somehow they will get connected and they will somehow fall into the place. Like, this is how it works.
And say, for example, yeah, this alignment with the
Mm-hmm.
yogini cult or with the Das Mahavidya cult. So, will that will actually have some impact? The total transformation will be there. There will be learning experiences. There will be blessings as well. So, will there be any side effects per se if someone does some mistake or maybe who is maybe deviating from the uh, proper practice of the concept? So, how will that impact a person in a negative manner? Will that happen at all if somebody is not adhering to the rules and regulations of the tradition?
Yeah, there are side effects. Hmm. So when we are speaking about the side effect of the, I mean the, if it is not properly done, what would be the after effect? Like, there is certainly, advantages are there when we are working on the, I mean, when we are trying the yogini sadhana.
Mhm.
Also, of course, there is there are some other problems also is been there if it is not did properly. So this is like, it is true to all sort of meditations as well. If it is not done properly, there
Mhm.
is, of course, there are side effects. See, the meditation, we have to look into why we are doing meditation. Some people says it to improve concentration and stuffs like that, but if we study that really deeply and properly, we could actually understand it is been done to get the grasp or the idea about how the creation is basically working, how the realities are basically working.
Correct.
All sort of occult knowledge or all sort of esoteric knowledge, if it is not performed properly, there is of course side effect. Like, for this we have to look into the story of Milarepa. If we look into
Mm.
the story of Milarepa, the reason why he went to Marpa uh,
Mhm.
to study the esoteric teaching, like, the tantric teaching, basically, we can now also we could see a lot of Buddhist monks. They have extraordinary capability. They are living in the monasteries. They can, some peoples can fly, some peoples can walk on the top of the water. There are
The
they,
levitation.
levitation. They have extraordinary stuffs are there,
Abilities.
abilities are there. That is
Mm.
not just the case of the Tibetan monks. There are peoples which we could see in the Himalayan caves also, is been the
Mm.
true.
Yogis.
Mm. One of there is one story which one of my spiritual friend has been shared. He was in the uh, caves of the Himalayas in search of,
Mm.
some yogis and things like that. So he went into one deep cave, and all of sudden, there is one voice started to come, like, you
Mm.
also came, you also came. So he was
Mm.
looking here and there, and he was not able to see nobody, but the voices just keep coming. And the
Mm.
reason was that what happened is
Mm.
that there was one yogi was meditating, and he forget that he got a body. And it's
Mm.
been centuries he is been meditating there, and the body
Mm.
has a problem. It cannot it cannot go beyond 100 years or 120
Mm.
years at max. According to Vedic astrology, 120 years is the maximum
Correct.
age the body could actually survive. So
Okay.
What happens after that? The body will be lost. So the he got some sort of extraordinary ability. So he was
Hmm.
there just like, as the cosmic force. He was just there, his soul was there, even though he was not having a body. So these kind of advantages we can get, like,
The
the
extraordinary abilities,
extraordinary abilities, like, ability to come out from the dead,
levitate,
and
and
all,
yeah,
all
and
these kind of things are possible.
possible.
So
Okay. So,
when we are talking about the disadvantages, the harm that can cause if it is not did properly, like
hmm,
recently one of my other friend is been connected, and he started doing the yogini sadhana in order to, because he is basically he is basically a cancer patient, like, so suddenly the things has been started changes in his life and things like that. So what he did is like, the things which once he started yogini sadhana, like
hmm,
what it is, he is feeling like committing suicide. The reason why he was calling me in at 1 o'clock in night, and telling me that I don't know, I'm feeling like committing suicide. I am feeling like I don't feel like, anything towards my family, and what I have to do. Should I mean, I'm feeling meaninglessness towards the life exactly. So
hmm,
what was the problem was happening here? One of the mudra he was performing was very wrong, and this
hmm,
has happened, and what happened is that this started to evoke a certain kind of energy in his body, and
oh my God.
there are some people has been done a sort of maranam in his in his existence. He was one of the one very big business person basically. He was a very
Okay.
well-to-do business person. He was basically a contractor. He constructed a lot of bridges which we can see in the Bangalore right now. So one of
Okay.
the very big businessman, all of a sudden his health started to falling apart, and his commerce, I mean his business started to falling apart and things like that. So many things has been happened in this particular way. So he started doing the yogini sadhana to recover all his businesses, and the stuffs like that. The suddenly what happened, the mudra, one of the mudra he was performing was basically wrong. So this made him to think otherwise. Like the mind started to change, because the yogini sadhana is one of the very effective method. Like, it can reflect very fast. Like, so if we did it a very proper way, this is like, because this is the one of the very advanced spiritual practices which we
Hmm,
can see we can see it in north, south, Buddhism, and
hmm,
Hinduism, and many things we can see. This is because it includes mudras, it includes
hmm.
yantras, it includes mantras, and it
And
includes
pranayams and
pranayama methods
other
also.
yogic kriyas.
Also
Okay.
it includes. So this is one thing. And also people can feel the illusions and hallucinations. So
Hmm,
once like, the some people's feel like, I have spoken to people, they are seeing gods in so many different formats, like, like
hmm,
some people will see it as a Krishna. Like
hmm,
one woman, she was calling me and saying that she is seeing in the dreams Shiva is coming to have intercourse with her. That this is what she was actually saying. Like,
oh my God.
so what is this happening? Like, so these sort of illusions, like,
Hmm.
this can happen. Like that has nothing to do with the reality, what exactly is happening. So these kind of disadvantages is can be happen in the
If it
yoga,
is not done properly, right?
not done properly. And if it is not did in with the proper guide, this is the problem that can be happen, like, because it
Yeah, that's
has
what I was going to ask you.
yeah, yeah.
Without initiation, if someone does it,
Mhm.
how would that impact a person in terms of body,
the
mind,
the
and soul?
Simple explanation is that he or she can turn to madness and craziness. This is they can lose their mind basically, because these energies, like, if we look into the
Too
mantra.
powerful to handle.
Yeah, the mantras are like, some of the mantras which is been actually given for prayogs, like, to change the
Mm-hmm.
reality, like, stambhanam, maranam, ucharanam, and things like that. People will put
Mm-hmm.
these mantras and listen and just chant these mantras, because people don't understand, like, mostly Western people, they will take these mantras and they just put it in Spotify in just a remixed way, because these mantras has some certain effect. That's why these mantras are there. So if they just keep chanting that sort of energy, they will attract. And this is like, very much hallucinative. Like some of the one of my friend, she is from Germany, and she is keeps
Mm-hmm.
texting me, like, in morning she will say she is planning to commit suicide, in afternoon she will say I'm planning to leave, and night she will say I'm planning to commit suicide.
Oh my God.
This is the problem,
Impact.
impacts that can
Why
happen.
she does not do it properly or something, or maybe she has gone wrong somewhere. Thinking, what is the
Because
reason behind it?
yeah, there she got some wrong ideas, and she started to practice in order to achieve these wrong ideas. And the without, because alone you may not be able to distinguish between what is real and unreal, and this is
The
like
hallucination and the reality and all those
yeah,
aspects.
yeah.
So, now since we are into the Kali Yuga, so Kali
Mm-hmm.
Yuga will actually, like unlike the other yugas, the Kali
Mm-hmm.
Yuga actually uh, channelizes mind in a different way, towards a different direction,
Mm-hmm.
which is not so positive, which is not so pure, or things like that. There are other negative emotions which are more prominent in our day-to-day lives that we get to see and around us. So in that case, since it is a Kali Yuga that we are going through, so the yogini sadhanas are advisable for people. What do you think about it? Like, what should one should do it for and upliftment in at the soul level in terms of body, mind, and soul, or maybe if I say that, will it benefit them in various ways, including the materialistic as well as the spiritual journey? How will that influence the people in the Kali Yuga, unlike the other yugas?
The
The
yugas is been given to people, they really don't understand the spiritual. I mean, it is given to general public rather than that of a serious sadhak or sadhika. Why? Because when you enter into the realm of sadhana, what you understand
Mm,
is that. You will understand the, I mean, you will understand in an experiential level that the soul or the atman, which has been here before also and which is
mm,
going to be here after also. So what happens
mm,
over in this particular consciousness, like, this is the
mm,
God's consciousness, where you will be able to see the reality in some larger sense or the larger aspect. So here what you understand is that there is really, there is nothing like bad is existing, I mean the wrong deeds are existing, there is nothing like a good deed is existing, because
mm.
all the good deeds you do in the physical layer is just
Well,
ends in the physical layer, like, so all
mm,
the bad deeds you do in the physical layer, this just ends in the physical layer. So if you look really really deep into these the the ideas of the morality between the good and bad, you will really understand that there is nothing like that is existing. So in that scenario, yogini sadhana has been advised in the, I mean, the the occult, anything to do with the really
Local
transformational,
science,
yeah, occult power has been advised in all the ages, those who look for something, beyond, like, if you feel
the
like
transcendental.
transcendental, like, if you feel like you want to do something extraordinary, or if you feel
Mm.
like you want to do something really really deep, you can actually, I mean, anybody can look into the occult things which can transform you in centuries, like, whatever the
Any
yoga does.
century. So that
Any
has nothing to do with the yogas or anything of that kind.
yoga
So,
yoga
uh,
is yoga has been given to really common people, like, they
mhm.
have a
Not for
belief.
the people
uh,
who are into serious spiritual practices or
Spiritual
so. So
practices,
it
like,
can be,
because in these spiritual practices, mostly peoples will give up almost everything, like, if because I mean, very minimal, most of the peoples, they
mm,
live with a very minimal thing. It's not like you have to renounce everything in order to get spiritual enlightenment or anything that sort, but generally happens, the I mean, so called the saint and all those people, they generally
mm,
ends up having very very less, because they get an understanding of this is enough, basically.
mm,
I mean, if I want to live, this is enough. This is the idea which will take them to there. But if you really want to do something in larger scale, like, for example, somebody like Elon Musk, or somebody like
mm.
Apple CEO, these people, they really need to gather the things around them in order to
Correct.
execute the idea whatever they are having. So
Mm,
in that way, because they can flex the reality and
mm,
get the things done according to them. So this
mm.
so for them also, the yogini sadhana is very, I mean, it is very important to,
Important.
very nice, I mean, very good to have, I mean.
As well as the common people.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So my next question would be something to do with another aspect, angle to it. It's like in Kala Gyana Nirnaya,
Hmm.
which is by Masendranath and translated by Stella Tricky and Shakti Mukhopadhyay. So in that book, in Patala 4 and 7, we get to see that Bhairav is having a dialogue with Beat Chamunda. So where he talks about that the color knowledge, the color
Hmm.
knowledge should not be shared with the wicked as well as the deceitful people
Hmm.
uh, that we get to see throughout the centuries, because they
Hmm.
might misuse the
Hmm.
tradition, they might misuse the power of the yoginis for
Hmm.
their vested interests, right?
Hmm.
So I mean, what is your opinion in terms of like, can a person really misuse the spiritual powers of the Chaucer Yoginis and the Tasmahavidyas? And if so, then what would be the repercussions that one might get to see if they harness the goddess energy for their vested interests? And these are the main first, these are the two questions which I would like to ask, and then I'll go on to the next.
So the basically the very much the biggest example is the story of Milarepa. Like, he went to Marpa in order to study the occult science, because he want to take revenge on his relatives, those who taken out the wealth he has acquired from his father. So this is the
Okay.
reason why he went to them in order to study the occult stuff. So basically, Marpa was kept on going. He was telling him, construct a house and destroy it, and construct another house and destroy it, and push the rock from here to there, and take it back to where it was there, and so many things, so many years. And over the years, the
Mm,
idea of the taking the revenge is
mm,
been gone out from his mind, and he become established in the self, and he is one of the biggest spiritual teacher, I mean, the in the centuries has ever seen. So even though the wicked people, what is the idea, whatever the idea they have, if they are serious
mm,
into that, like,
mm,
yoginis will take care, because the larger existence knows
mm,
what it has to be done with what exactly is happening. So
mm.
the thing is like in that is why there is also initiation process, just like if people want to just to mess up with the thing or the
Mm.
ideas, like there is initiation process which I have already spoken, where I have tried to give the initiation to the larger initiation to somebody, and it was not succeeded because the existence was not allowing us to do what was to be done. So
Mm.
the thing is like the universe knows what it has to be done in a way. When we are getting the key to change the universe, or when whoever is getting the key to change universe knows what has to be done with this particular person. This is what
And it bounces back.
yeah, this
And
can.
so that bounce back is a repercussion that one might get if they try to he or she tries to harness the goddess energy in a negative way, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
trying to say. Okay.
Yeah.
So the anything else that you want to add to this point?
No.
Okay. So in that case, how do you decide if the individual is eligible for this, esoteric study? Whether the person is eligible for it in that sense is like whether his or her natal chart would support the studies, or whether it would actually stop the person from getting into it. How do you decide? Do you see since you're into Vedic astrology as well, so do you read the natal chart of the person before allowing that person to get aligned with the tradition, or maybe before getting that person initiated in the tradition? Is that the way you do it when you're trying to get somebody initiated into the practice? How do you do it?
The initiation process, I have already
I mean, how
discussed.
do you decide? How do you decide?
Like the basic initiation has been given to everybody, and the ability to advance on this particular practices is been largely decided by the uh, goddesses itself. Like the
Mm,
because they will show it has to be done, it should not be done in the, we call it as omen, like the that is why I shared this particular story where we
So
try
bad
to.
omen or good omen will actually come, and that's
Ha,
how
it will
you
stop.
decide.
It will stops to
Okay.
get give this particular initiation into this particular
Okay.
point.
Okay. So, don't you actually go through the natal chart as well while
Yes,
thinking
there
about?
the spiritual advancement of the particular person can be decided. I mean, how good he can go through the yogini initiation can be read from his or her chart. Like we there. I think I had a podcast discussion with one of my another astrologer friend in the. He is from US. In my podcast session, you can see where we were analyzing the detailed chart of the Ramana Maharshi and the
Mm,
Nisargadatta Maharaj. These peoples were, if we look into the Advaitic Vedadic studies, these two figures are written a lot of book, and Ramana Maharshi is one of the biggest yogi which has been ever born. This is what we can see
mm,
if you look into their chart, and why it is like that. Like chart has different aspect. Like one is natal chart. From there we can get D1, D2, D3, D4, D5. Like
great.
D108. Like that we can derivate. So that particular aspect also is there. Like it will give a hint. Like this particular person is mostly eligible for the studies of the. I mean the
The
particular
yogini studies or the
yoga studies.
Tasmavidya
Yeah,
studies, right?
how well they can get into that, and how
Aligned.
fast they can grow up into this particular line is also is been is been can be read in the chart itself. Like.
Yeah. Okay. So now I come to the end of the series of questions which I had in my mind and which
Mhm.
which we were discussing. So anything else that you would like to add? I don't have any more questions right now. So if you want to add anything else which you think it should be ideal for the people to know, for your audience to know, anything that you
At
would
this particular point right now, nothing else. I want to add in this particular thing. But I think we have covered almost everything related to, I mean, the most of the questions which generally people are facing, I think. Yeah.
Mm. And yeah, since I was actually I actually got initiated into the Chaucer Yogini tradition long ago in
Mm.
May 2017, and since then uh, I was actually doing the chanting and doing a lot of research on the subject. My teacher taught us 8 mudras when she got us initiated into the tradition in May 2017. And recently, I guess it is 7 days ago, you also taught me 10 mudras for the Das Mahavidya concept. And I see till now, I have seen quite a, uh, you know, as I've discussed with you already, I've seen quite a positive sensation till now. So, any, but my experience was really, till now, it is quite nice. And what I would like to tell people that whoever is interested in this tradition, want to get initiated into the tradition, whoever is interested in studying the subject, you can contact Arun VM through his YouTube link and his website. And yes, if you ask me, that my experience was quite nice, and you feel the presence of the goddesses when you start meditating. And yes, you need to have a clear mind as to what you want out of the studies. You should be focused on the studies. You should be focused on your well-being and not harming anyone, not thought of harming anyone. Only think about your own personal development, spiritual development, and the betterment for your family and your own self. I think as long as you think in that way, you will not feel the wrath of the goddess. And that's what I feel. So if you have to say anything else to it, Arun, I would request you to say, what do you
Uh,
think?
yeah, thank you for sharing your experience, and maybe mostly it will be helpful for the people who want to walk into this path. And I would love to say that every experience can stop you from getting greater experience. Because why? Because mind has a tendency, if they get an experience, it will like to relate that particular experience to the new experience which is coming. So what happens here is that the idea of the previous experience will stop from having the new experience fully. So don't cling to any sort of experiences, like from there we have to move forward. That is how we can get much more deeper and greater experience.
Into the studies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why my teacher says in the related to the Brahman, he who
Mm.
knows about this, he don't have to seek. He who don't know about this, he don't know what to seek. And if you
Mm.
think that you know this, then you really don't know. So this
Know
is the
anything.
yeah yeah. So
Yeah.
this is so this is the
The main
the,
crux of it.
yeah, this is really the deepest Upanishad wisdom, which from Kenopanishad. So yeah, so the Upanishad experiences are not different from the yogic, I mean the yogini experiences, and this is one of the fastest way which I found in my
Correct.
yeah.
And yeah, and each experience is a new experience.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
true.
If you want
Yeah,
to get
once,
if you want to get the new experience, you should not cling to the previous
yeah,
experiences.
yeah,
The
it's better
moment
not to
you
cling, but you can actually go keep that
Mhm.
along with you and go on to the next level. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it should be. Like
So
for me, it's
see the
Chaucer
more
Yogini Namavali, and then now it is the Das Mahavidya, again a separate segment.
see,
So
like
that's how,
the it is something like
step by step.
when you fall in love, the very first day or the first time, it is like
Mm.
so deep, like the butterflies are flying and all the emotions are coming out. So many things will happen, like but
Mm.
when you look into the next day, you relate this first experience with the next day. So the next day
Mm.
also same experiences, which is deeper than that of the first experiences, are actually happening, because of
Mm.
your relating the previous experiences with the nower experiences. You will
Mm.
not be able to get the present experience that is happening.
That
You know?
yeah. So it is like okay, it's you're trying to compare with the first and the
Huh,
second day thing. That's what you're trying to say. So it's
yeah.
better not to compare, and you take each day as a, or rather each experience as a new experience and a new learning, and
Huh,
also
exactly.
obviously the learning and the wisdom and obviously the blessings of the yoginis and the Dasamahavidyas, they all come together.